So welcome. I'll just go through what is on the agenda today. So like I mentioned, we're here to chat about the Startup Next Steps program. And also I'll cover off a little bit of what Techscaler is as a whole, in case you are not familiar. We will chat about the eligibility criteria for taking part in Next Steps, the learning objectives of Next Steps, the curriculum and content that you should expect, format, ways to attend, and the key dates that you need to know. And then we'll finish up with the Q&A. So who is chatting today? So my name's Claire. I am one of the education program managers at Codebase, and I work specifically on our Techscaler programs. And I will be the program lead for Next Steps, which we're here to learn about today. And like I mentioned, I'm joined by my colleague Shona, who is VP of Programs. She oversees all of our programs, and she's going to be giving a little bit of information around the thinking behind the learning objectives of this program, and then will be joining me for the Q&A. So what is Techscaler and Startup Next Steps? So I imagine we've got a few people who are already Techscaler members, and don't worry if you are not. I'm going to let you know how to join the Techscaler community and become a member, and give you a little bit of background of what it is. So Techscaler is a Scottish funded programme delivered by us at Codebase that aims to increase the number of successful tech startups across Scotland. Techscaler is a programme for creating, developing and scaling tech startups. So we connect you with experts, share world-class playbooks and host spaces for fellow founders and startup folks to work and hang out. We have 3 pillars of Techscaler, 3 main pillars. These are broken into place, community, and education and mentorship. So place is basically the hubs that we have. We have 7 different hubs across Scotland. I'll talk about them a little bit later. Community is, sorry, I think my earphones just died. Hopefully you can still hear me. Community stretches over all of our events, all of the peer support, and the also our online community platform. That means that people can access Techscaler and those opportunities wherever they are in Scotland, regardless of the proximity to a hub. And then education and mentorship, which is where my team sits. So that's all of our courses, which I will touch on a little bit shortly. And also mentorship is a key offering where we can pair you with somebody who is a few steps ahead of you in your journey, and you can learn from them. And very importantly, all of this is free to access and it's free to join. So about Next Steps, that's the course that you're all here today to learn about. So Startup Next Steps is a practical course that's designed for founders and senior team members whose tech product is already in market and growth is a key focus. We will break into a bit more information about that when we chat about eligibility later. Just wanted to give you a wee overview. Again, to reiterate, this is at no cost to the participants, and the format for Next Steps is it's a 10 core sessions course that happens over 12 weeks. And very importantly is you must be a Techscaler member to take part. So just before we get into it all, I wanted to just clarify for absolute avoidance of doubt what we mean by a tech startup. Startups who are building a single software product at the core of their business model. So this means that the software product is scalable and not bespoke to a specific customer. And also this covers any sector or vertical where software and innovation are factors, such as health, agriculture, and tourism. So just for a little bit of context about where Next Steps sits in our education offering. So you'll see under pre-startup there, we've got Startup Basics. That is a self-paced online program with 5 modules that are all live at the moment, and you can jump into the to our community platform and have a nosy at that now, regardless of what stage you're at. It's maybe nice to brush up on this information, or if you're just interested and it's new to you, then that's the place to get started. The next stage is Startup First Steps, which is a very similar program in the way that it runs to Startup Next Steps. It's cohort based, and yeah, the format is very similar, but it's for people who are anything from the ideation stage and just really interested in committing to working in startups, or are working on their MVP and ready to get that ready for market. Next Steps is where we are, which we will be chatting a lot about today. And then our advanced training program for scale-ups, which is in partnership with a Silicon Valley-based company, Reforge. So just to show you that we have education offerings that stretch across whatever stage you are at, there is something that we can offer to help you. And you'll also notice here that we've got these little green dots that says apply lessons and start. So the idea is that all the way through, you wouldn't necessarily jump from program to program. It's about taking all the learnings on board and then coming back. Excuse the dog intrusion if you heard that there. But yeah, also just to mention that there's it's not a linear path here. It's not a case of you need to complete one to get to the other. This is just everything that we offer, and you can jump in at any point. So a bit about the eligibility criteria. So for this program, it is very fixed where you need to be in order for this to be the right stage for you. So it's a course that's designed for founders and senior team members. You'll notice there I've mentioned that team participation is encouraged, but I do just want to mention that it's necessary for every person to be fully taking part of the course, and everyone does need to be a Techscaler member. So that basically means it's not a case of sharing a place in the course and jumping in and out. It's more that we encourage you to come along, and then you can kind of take the learnings away and be actively working on that together. So the criteria for it, basically you need to have a software product in market. So this means that you're past the stage of building your MVP, and all your testing is done, and your product's there for people to use, and for you to actually have some active customers, whether they are paid or free customers. So just another couple of indicators that might help you. Those 2 points are the key ones for you to be at the right stage to get what will help you from this course. If that's not the case for you, then like I say, we'll have other programs that can support you. But right now you might be building a team. You might have raised some investment under $1 million. You might be looking to raise a late seed or Series A round in the near future. You might be revenue generating, but not necessarily profitable at the moment. And you might be exploring adjacent market opportunities or secondary product lines. Just to make it really clear, you're too early for this program if you're still looking to develop a product that replicates a manual process, or you're still in beta testing phase or closed testing phase, and if you have an idea that you haven't executed the idea just yet, then just a bit early for us at the moment, but like I say, there are other things for you. So the learning objectives of this course. The objectives are that you'll be preparing your startup to scale. You'll have explored mechanisms for expanding your market share. You'll be ready to move from tactical business progress to strategic business growth. You'll develop an understanding of what product market fit means for your startup. And you'll meet, learn from, and collaborate with startups in Scotland at a similar stage. I'm going to pause here and let my colleague Shona jump in with a little bit of the thought behind this.
Thanks, Claire. And I just wanted to touch on the eligibility bit as well, in that I know that we mentioned some stuff around fundraising and investment levels that you might be at, but you also don't need to add any external investment in your startup to be at the stage that's suitable for growth. As Claire said, it's the two first ones are the compulsory, and the others are things that might have happened recently that mean that you'd get benefit from this. And I think that feeds into like the objectives and how we've designed the program. So we wanted to share a little bit more about why we've designed it in the way that we've designed. We're about to share with you some of the content that we'll be running with, and the order of that, and then an idea of some of the speakers that we're bringing in to run that. But I thought I'd share a little bit first about where I've come from and why I think this is such an important program. So my background's in the travel and tourism industry, and in 2015, just as Booking.com and Airbnb were really starting to capitalize on market share of that sector, and manual bookings were becoming less of a thing, I joined a travel tech startup as the first non-founder on the team. We went through a couple of early stage funding rounds over the next few years and grew that business. We were tagged as the Airbnb for people with disabilities. We were getting to the point that we were raising for a Series A round. So we were looking to raise about 2 million. And we had a product, we had API partners, we had lots of things that were working, but our booking system and customer inquiries were still incredibly manual. We were having to make sure that every transaction completed. We were having to really make sure that customer trusted us and could go through the process. So it was super manual. In the back end, it looked very dynamic and automated from the front end for customers, thankfully. And so by the time we got to raising for our Series A, we were raising, one, because we needed investment to be able to build that maturity into our product and acquisition tactics, but two, because we were running out of cash, which I know is a problem for a lot of startups, those two things that you need both at the same time. And so I think at the time, the startup ecosystem was much less developed than it is now. We were based in the south of England, had touch points in London, but weren't really involved in any of the sort of networks or ecosystems that were available at the time. We'd done a little bit of work with like Google Campus and a few other things, but we didn't have a connection of people who could share with us what they'd done and how they'd got to success, and how we could maybe replicate that in our own business in a way that we didn't run out of cash, and we were able to do it maybe more cash strapped and in a smarter way. So we were still sort of failing lots of times with lots of our tactics without being able to move on and move out of that sort of manual stage of business. And so then what ended up happening, or what we managed to achieve, instead of raising Series A, we were acquired by Airbnb at the time, and that offer was part of our fundraise round. And so while that may be seen as a success for where we needed to end up, there are obviously things that we would have loved to have done independently of being acquired by Airbnb, and without the constraints that then come with being a part of a much bigger organization. And so I think what I want to sort of share is that the consideration of the design for what we have put together for Startup Next Steps for this first cohort for Techscaler is around what at that stage of business would or is most valuable. And we've worked with lots of startups across Scotland who have either been through some of the Techscaler membership benefits so far, or are out the other side of this stage of growth and have shared what helped them and what they would have needed. And we've put all of that together to try and combine a flow of content that gives you stories from people, frameworks that you can follow, playbooks that have been used and been successful, and failures along the way, so that you can learn where they might have come in or where you might be able to avoid them. What the curriculum and the objectives sort of cover are more themes and stories, rather than here is exactly what you should do, with frameworks and coaching that allows you to build what that means for your business. So it was more just to share a little bit more on the thinking behind it, on where you might relate to some of the story that I've shared as to where we were when I could have benefited from a lot of this support, and that we have mentorship as part of Techscaler benefits, member benefits, that will your mentor or your mentors, depending on what stage you're at, will be able to support you through practical application of this in your startup. And the key thing really is to come with an open mind as to where you go next and how and what might be the outcome and of going through a program like this for you. So I will let Claire jump into more detail as to what that curriculum looks like and how we're going to run those sessions. So please do pop any questions you have in the Q&A, and we'll come to those in the Q&A section, but you're also welcome to ask them live at the time we get to the Q&A around any of that detail as well.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Shona. So I'm going to dive into the curriculum now. And just to mention from what Shona said, like our team at Codebase, the people who are delivering Techscaler, some of us do have startup experience, much like Shona just spoke about, but for the speakers that we have coming into our programs, they're expert-led. We pick people that are going to be able to come along and share their knowledge with us, and it's guided by a lot of our own experiences as well. Okay, so this is the meaty part. So I'm just going to go through each of these sessions, and you'll spot from that there that we've got little break weeks, which I'll speak about a little bit later on. We're going to have some co-working days that are fully optional. So these are the 10 core sessions that I mentioned. So week 1 is growth and leadership mindset coach. So get ready to challenge your assumptions about your business, think about how you'll bring your team on the journey, and get ready to tackle the next stage of your business's journey. Week 2 is business strategy. Review product market strategy using best practice frameworks and playbooks to plan your next stage of growth. Week 3 is product fundamentals and how to grow. We'll cover the fundamentals of product growth, leaning into product-led growth and the importance of strategy and roadmaps. So this section of 4 weeks are all case studies where we will have some founders come along and tell their stories. So week 4 is case study, sales and marketing. Understand the difference between sales and marketing, the tactics that could work best for your startup growth, and ensuring you have a strong single value proposition. Week 5, case study again, growth mechanisms, tactics and scalability. Review how you will grow your customers efficiently and transition to long-term activation and retention. Week 6 is case study on building a team. So revisit the basics of employer responsibilities, as well as thinking about culture and why it's important to invest in your team. Week 7 is our final case study. It's pivots, failures, and exits. Much about what Shona spoke about there, about thinking about what success looks like. And so prepare to think about exits and your long-term strategy, envision what success looks like, and recognize when pivoting might be the best approach. And so our final chunk of content curriculum, week 8 is funding and money. Learn how to be smart with money, runway planning, cash flow forecasting, and shifting revenue streams. Week 9 is scaling operations, so you can run lean, discover more about legal and regulatory requirements, and explore opportunities to scale your internal systems to scale your startup more effectively. And week 10 will be a little bit of a celebration week where we'll have an investor panel, some speed pitches and networking. So that'll be to celebrate completing the Startup Next Steps program with an opportunity to do a speed pitch, a Q&A with an investor panel, and networking with ecosystem partners and other startups and investors. So the format, dates, and also the ways that you can attend. So as I've mentioned, we have 10 core sessions. These sessions will run on Tuesdays from September to November in the afternoon from 2 p.m. There'll be a mixture of presentations and workshops and activities. Over the 12 weeks, we'll also have a couple of co-working days and extra events that are all optional to come along to. The actual format of the sessions, they will always be hybrid, meaning that you can join in person or online. And you'll also have access to our community platform. That's something that you get with being a Techscaler member, but also there'll be a dedicated group for you to chat with other participants and chat about what you've been learning. So just to mention briefly the commitment and expectations. So I mentioned that they run in the afternoon from 2. Some weeks it'll be 2 hours, some weeks it'll be 3 hours. We'll of course let you know in advance. Yeah, those are always in the afternoons, except from on those break weeks that I mentioned. They'll happen on the 3rd of October and the 7th of November. We'll also be doing recordings of the sessions, just in case you can't make it along to a session, you'll be able to catch up. And a very dodgy spelling of the word value in this next point, but you'll get the most value from fully committing. Obviously, there are things that happen, which is why we provide the recordings, but we just want to mention that there will be other cohorts of this program. So please don't rush to join right now if it doesn't feel like the time where you're going to be able to really jump into it, because there will be other opportunities. So on ways to attend, as I mentioned, the course is delivered in a hybrid format with sessions taking place in person and online. Basically, so you can, wherever you are in Scotland, you'll have the opportunity to join. There are 3 options of how you take part. So Live Delivery Hub, we will be a little bit like a touring circus through these months where we'll be popping up in different hubs. And again, we'll let you know the schedule of that. You will be asked when you enroll to tell us your preferred hub, but that by no means means that you can't come along to another hub. Say you're based in Edinburgh and you want to come up to Dundee, that will always be an option for you. Or you can join fully remotely, so whether that's at home or in your office, you would just join as an online participant and we would pop you into online breakout rooms to take part in the activities. And then the third option is a bit of a watch party with other participants. So you could go along to your local hub. We will have a setup for you where you'll be able to basically take part as a remote participant, but for the breakout activities, you can do those face-to-face with the other participants in your region. So just to quickly go through where the hubs are. So our Inverness hub is based in WASP's Creative Academy. Aberdeen, we're based in the One Tech Hub. Dundee, we're in Abertay Cyber Quarter. Stirling, we've got our own building, Codebase Stirling, and in Edinburgh, we are a part of a building, which is Codebase Edinburgh. Glasgow, we're based in Barclays Eagle Lab, but also for taking part in this program, we will be using the Innovation Centre for live delivery. And then we also have the south of Scotland, but that is to be confirmed exactly where it will be. So just to run through some key dates, you'll see there we've got the chunks, like I mentioned, and I have to say I'm very satisfied with the way that they all fit into 1 month. That was not planned, but did make me quite happy. And so our first session's on the 12th of September and our final one will be on the 28th of November. Some other key dates to mention are that the applications are open till Monday, 21st of August. Again, you apply to be a Techscaler member and let us know that you hit that criteria, and then you'll be invited to enroll and you can choose if you want to do that. We'll also have a little welcome session ahead of starting. That'll just be a online lunchtime event with an opportunity for a little bit of networking and asking any questions that you need answered before you get stuck in. We also have a little taster event happening in a week or so on Tuesday the 15th. That'll also be an online event, very similar to this format. I'm not sure if we do have the link ready to share about that, but we can follow up in emails afterwards. And then, yeah, the break weeks are 3rd of October and the 7th of November. And like I've mentioned, we're going to have a optional co-working day where we'll basically just book some space in those 7 locations, so that you can meet with other participants and just work away on what you're up to, and we'll make sure there's some nice coffee and tea and snacks and whatnot. Okay, and that was an awful lot of talking from me. So now I'm gonna pass to Shona for the Q&A, and we'll still be here. I think, as she mentioned, you can pop in the Q&A function or into the chat and we'll be able to pick it up.
Great. So yeah, if anyone wants to start popping questions into the Q&A or chat, I am facilitating that. So keep me busy is the aim. So Claire, the first one is from Andrew, who says, we've been accepted onto the program. Do my co-founders need to fill in the registration form as well, or can I forward links onto them?
Sure. Brilliant question. I should have gone into this in a little bit more detail, so thank you. We don't want other team members filling in the same form. Basically, once you've done your enrollment, there is a question about if you have other team members or co-founders that you would like to join, and they'll be sent an additional form. If you haven't received that, you can follow up with membership at techscaler.co.uk. But yes, it should just be a case of you filling in the application and the enrollment form, which is additional to the Techscaler membership form, and you'll be asked if there are other people hoping to join.
Great. So Andrew, I don't know if, oh yeah, brilliant, thank you. Okay, so there's 2 forms. The first is the Techscaler membership registration form, which is more generic. And then the second is the enrollment form for next steps, which has the question, which other team members would you like to have access to the program? Because we do need their details for managing participation. So Andrew, that's hopefully answered. And Molly's just popped in the email address that you can send any further queries to, if that hasn't answered your questions. Alan, is there a minimum or maximum numbers from any single business who can be part of the cohort, and which roles, if more than one participant, is it just for founders? And if not, which roles I think would be suitable? If it's more than one participant, who would you suggesting being a part of the course?
Sure. So when we say founders and senior team members, basically people who have decision-making and also the learnings they can take away from the course are going to make an impact on the business and how things are run. So that's why not people too early. I think if there are any questions around perhaps you're a really small team, so you maybe don't have like C-suite roles at the moment, but everybody is very much mucking in and getting things done, then yeah, it needs to just be people who them taking part in the course is going to have a significant impact on the business, and they'll be able to make decisions. But oh yeah, sorry, just if there's any questions around that, if you need a bit of extra clarity, you can get in touch with that membership at techscaler.co.uk.
And I think minimum and maximum numbers, let us know who you think would get most benefit from it. And if we think that might be too many, then we'll get in touch. Minimum wise, it's at least one person from your company needs to be there. And we'd encourage that you don't split weeks out between you. So it's not like one of you comes to week 1 to 3 and somebody else comes to the next few weeks. That the best benefit is from you doing this together to be able to collaborate on strategic like planning for moving your startup forwards. Yeah, so fill in who you'd like to attend, and then if we think that there might be an issue around capacity, we'll discuss with you. Thank you. Drew, we have developed most of our product, congratulations, and we will have completed development by the starting date. Are we still eligible? So this one, I guess the nuance here is that it's not just about your product being finished, it's about whether you've got active users on that product? Have you got customers who are engaging with it? And that's not just beta testers or family and friends. That needs to be people who you're really solving that problem for. So if you've been building your product publicly and with like acquiring active users along the way and having people engage with it as you're developing it, rather than having a closed launch date, then you're likely eligible. But it sounds like you might be on the cusp, depending on the nuance of how you've built your product. So that will be, if you apply for Techscaler membership, the next part of the process is filling in some detail as to the stage you're at and having a conversation with one of our mentors around what your growth plans are for the next year and where you are at the moment. And they'll work with you to decide between the two of you how much value you would get from joining Next Steps at this stage versus maybe waiting for some time, having some mentorship, attending some other events before joining a Next Steps cohort. We were told we're in between programs. Okay, maybe Drew, that's a more detailed question we need to have one-to-one, and definitely pick up with the, let me make a note of that one for you.
Yeah, and just also to reiterate that we this isn't the only opportunity. We want to make sure that people know that this is going to come again, and it's, you know, it's to work to the benefit of your business. We don't want to be you taking part in this and detracting from you working in your business. So I guess just it's also about judging if you think you'll get more benefit once you've had a few months after launch. And yeah, because we'll I think we're expecting to have a spring cohort of Next Steps, so there'll be more opportunities.
Great. So Drew, I think that will be a further conversation via email, at least to start with, and have a look at where you are at the moment. One quickly for you, Claire, actually, can you bring back the slide with the dates?
Yeah.
Use that magic wand.
Okay, I said that so confidently, but it worked brilliantly.
So Danielle, when will participants to First Steps receive an invitation to enroll in Next Steps, or what information, I guess, are they receiving from? So First Steps being the program that we ran from April to June. I think there's a couple of you on the call. I've spotted your names. So if you want to share in the chat if you joined First Steps and what you got out of it and what you're excited to do next, then we'd love to see you here. So Claire, when will participants who were on First Steps receive an invite or any information?
Yeah, nice. Well, first of all, lovely that there's so many people that took part in our last cohort program. I'm going to take that as a shining recommendation. But basically, you'll have been sent out a end of course survey where we were kind of trying to gauge more information at what stage your business is at following the course. So using that information and information that we have on people, people have been emailed out. If you think you should have been approached and that you meet that criteria, then that again is just sending a wee email over to Ian at membership@techscaler.co.uk. Yeah, so it's people are invited based on what information we know of their stage. So if you've slipped through the cracks there, that's just send a wee email and just mention that.
Thank you. You referenced, so a question from Sabina, and it's about, I think you referenced to there being another cohort coming next year if people aren't either ready for it now or don't have the capacity to join it for the autumn program. So what have we got key dates for cohort 2 already in planning? Well, we've not delivered cohort 1 yet, but yeah, what's your thoughts on the future?
I think we have penciled in dates at the moment, so that's why I'm going vague with spring. So yes, it'll be Q2 of 2024, and I really had to think about what year next year was. Yeah.
So essentially, if you need 6 months more, or you need to be in a different period that's not September to December this year, then it's likely it will be Q2 2024, which is sort of April onwards. We try and avoid programs running over the summer for obvious reasons. So July and August are usually off limits, and so it'll be before that. For a second one. So Rick asked a question not on the Q&A but in the chat, which is, Is there a different application form for next steps for existing Techscaler members versus new members?
No, there's not. So it's a case of well, mentorship is available for everybody at any stage, and the information that mentors feed back to us to help us know what stage you're at and what support we can be offering you. So again, if it is that you feel like you've maybe slipped through and you should have been invited along, it's probably just that we don't have full information about like what stage your product's at and what your customer base is. Those are the key things that we're using to know who is ready for this program. So I'm going to get a little repetitive, but you're very welcome to email membership@techscaler.co.uk for that.
So for existing members, they will have been invited to enroll based on updated information we had, and if not, then flag it to us and we can have a chat. Or if you've got a mentor relationship already, so you're already working with one of our mentors, either you've had a growth planning session with them or you're having your sort of quarterly to fortnightly catch-ups with them and discuss with your mentor direct. And we've still got a couple of weeks of enrollments open, so there'll be a good opportunity there. I haven't got any more Q&A in the Q&A section, and I can't see anything in the chat that I've missed. So if anyone still has questions, please pop them in. We've got about 5 minutes left. The one that I've had outside of this has been around the type of tech that people are developing. So is there any specific type of tech that will be covered or that's focused on over others, like SaaS versus mobile apps versus using AI or VR or augmented reality versus, and if not, will it be relevant to people in all different types of tech? So I don't know, Claire, if you want to cover that or if you want me to.
If you could take it, sorry, I was too busy explaining what SaaS was for anybody that wasn't familiar with it.
Yeah, so software as a service, which is usually a subscription-based software that you would use. So Google for Business or something like, or Salesforce often. So we're sector and tech agnostic as Techscaler, which means that it's any software business. Stories that are shared by people that we bring in for case studies and coaches that we bring in around certain sort of specialisms around like maybe sales or operational regulatory practices, fundraising, may have specific tech solutions that they're used to working with and may reflect their stories against that. But what we try to do is make sure that the speakers that we bring in cover a variety of different types of businesses, different revenue models, different business models, different types of tech. So it's that we'll try and be very broad on speakers and topics covered so that you can use the frameworks and apply them to your own business and startup. Rather than us being having specialisms in certain types of tech or sectors as well. So we're trying to be very broad on speakers. It may mean that some weeks you feel they're not as relevant, but hopefully there'll be something every week that you can take away and apply, either something new that's just interesting to you or something that you hadn't really thought about the way that might apply to your business because it's from a different sector or a different type of tech solution. So it may be that you can learn from being exposed to those as well. I have no more open questions. The only thing is we have popped in the link, the event that Claire mentioned on the 15th of August. We have someone who spent 8 years at Slack. She joined very early stage Slack in 2014 and worked in their customer support team, which most people who are running tech businesses will know that that's the place that you learn the most about how customers interact with your product, and then ended her career at Slack she was the director for the Slack app directory, which I always struggle to say, and so all the apps that integrate with Slack, that was Amy's role, was sort of managing that for the business. So she's running our first session week 1, and she's currently working in lots of leadership coaching roles. And so she's going to cover off her stories from that crazy growth period from Slack, things that they've learned, things that didn't work that you may not know about, and also some touching on some of the themes that will be covered in the first week and some taster sort of session bits for that. So we'd love for you to all come along to that session on the 15th of August, and Molly's just popped the event link in. So you can be the first to sign up, because we've only just put that live today and it's not even been put out on our socials yet or anything like that. So you can be the first to sign up to that session.
Nice.
Anything else? Or Claire, do you want to wrap?
I'm just gonna wrap up with again, to take part in this, you need to be a Techscaler member, which is totally free to do. And I've put a wee QR code there. So if you're not a member, this will take you to the application form. Yeah, you just need to be able to confirm about the product stage, the fact that it's in market and that you have some active customers. And again, as I've mentioned, if you're already a member but feel like you should have been contacted and haven't been, then you can get in touch with membership at techscaler.co.uk. And any questions, ping them over to membership as well.
Cool.
Thanks
everyone for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming along, and hopefully you have learned and are feeling like enticed towards this, whether this cohort or another. Yeah, thanks for joining.